Hello, BookTube. Well, as you can see, I have a guest. This is Christopher Russell of the eponymous channel, Christopher Russell. Here to say hi to my imaginary book.
Hi. Hi.
We're here for a special occasion, even though it's an occasion I wish weren't special. There is a particular Christopher's channel here on BookTube. I'll leave a link to it down below. Has just reached 4 digits in terms of subscribers. So you've just crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark. And I have been saying for years that that should not matter, that it's about the conversations and the connections that you make. That's what determines a successful channel. So if you're standing there like a bump on a pickle, talking in a monotone to 14 subscribers for 10 years, your channel is a failure, not because of the 14 subscribers, but because no one's wanted to spend any time with you. But nevertheless, there is a magic, isn't there, to 4 digits?
There is. And there's a special incentive when you come from Ohio because Ohio doesn't have a lot of very good candidates for popular figures. And so if I become one, I'll be one of the few people who from Ohio who represents the state better than, well, let's say Vivek Ramaswamy, the Paul brothers, Logan and Jake Paul.
I'm assuming that in your hedgehog-like innocence, you are unaware of the fact that the Taft family comes from Ohio.
Nobody remembers the Taft family, okay? Except for you.
The Taft family is still a power in Ohio. Come
It's
and
true.
back, maybe. You believe
I don't want to ruffle any feathers.
the feathers were in Mrs. Taft's hat. It was the fashion at the time. Oh, I will say you are more presentable on camera than William Howard Taft's son, Mr. Republican. We'll leave it at that. So naturally, I want to know. Naturally, I have a million questions, but there are going to be a lot of people watching this video who have never seen your channel. Uh, and they're just seeing you through the miracle of the technology that is Zoom, the app Zoom, and the platform YouTube. And just as a little bit of trivia, do you know who invented those two things?
Oh,
Irving Stone. True story. I refer, of course, to the video of Christopher's that has gone viral, where he digs up your grandmother from the graveyard, hauls up her chapless skull to his face, and says, "Hey, Granny, read any good books lately?" And she said, "Ah, I love The Agony, the Ecstasy by Irving Stone." And he spits in her face and throws her on the ground. There was a video recently where Christopher did that. He described The Agony, the Ecstasy by Christopher Ross, by Irving Stone, as the worst book ever written in the history of the world.
people won't let that go. I'm getting emails about it. They're
I
saying,
don't doubt
"Well,
you. I don't
I
doubt
will
it.
never recommend you a book again." Somebody in the comments of that video was even like, my grandmother gave me this book and said that I should read it, and now I don't want to.
Even Rex Harrison, who starred in the movie version, said he heard it was quite a good book. Of course, he didn't know because he didn't know how to read.
He did.
Although, the very rare exception to my rant about Hollywood stars not knowing how to read, Charlton Heston did know how to read. He was an active reader. And he shared some of your criticisms with the book.
No way.
Yeah,
No way.
way. He shared some of your criticisms. What's less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
Uh, people, a lot of people will not know you. And so I naturally want you to tell them how you found BookTube. No, how you found it and what induced you to try it. There's plenty of
Well,
people out there find it, but do not try it.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I found it through first watching your videos, obviously. The Daily Penguins, which I'm so happy are back, by the way, because that's just a classic series of yours. But then from there, all of these channels are connected to each other. You watch one, and then all of a sudden you watch someone doing a tag video, and then you go, well, who made that tag? And then you go and watch the original tag, and then you fall down this big rabbit hole, and then you see how all of these channels are actually talking to each other. They're not just like making videos for nobody to watch or for just like their cultish fans or whatever. You've got a whole community of people who are like making videos for each other, and I thought that was fascinating. And I had been watching YouTube for years. I mean, I'm a digital native, so I grew up watching YouTube. I was about like 8 or 9 years old when I started like really watching YouTube. And so that's been a long time, and I'd never encountered in all of those years of watching YouTube anything like BookTube at all. I mean, it is a very special community, and I should mention that it's obviously this little corner of BookTube that doesn't include the big the
Yeah.
bigger channels who don't watch this corner at all.
They don't watch this at all. And
They have
they
no
do
idea
this
that
for
this
each other,
exists.
but in a very exclusive way.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and then what induced me to try it was just the fact that it was like everybody who was doing it was throwing perfectionism to the wind, and they were just like making videos whether they were filming, on a horrible webcam or whatever. It didn't matter. It was more about not everybody was, a sexy 28-year-old either. So it was amazing just how
Yeah, there's some
how
trusty old relics in our little corner.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
People where every time I turn on one of their videos, I hope they sign their organ donor card. They could keel over right in the middle of talking about, a court of thorns and roses or whatever.
It's just,
Right. So we can agree that old people are tedious and should be harvested for organs.
yeah. I think there needs to be a strict limit, an age limit. Once you hit that, at the very least, do everyone a favor and never leave the house, and certainly don't film any videos. I mean,
So there had to come a moment where you thought, I could do this.
yeah, yeah. I don't. It
You
it
must
happened.
certainly you must have seen what you mentioned, which is that there's no gated community here. We're all
Right,
joking and laughing with each other.
right, right. And it happened basically when I realized that like I didn't want to be a stranger to the people whose videos I was watching anymore. I would say that was probably it, where I was like, I want these people to know, one, that I exist, two, that I like their videos, and three, that this experience of watching these videos has improved my reading a lot. And I want to see if by actually making videos, it'll continue to improve my reading. And it definitely has, like for sure. The experience of making, you know, reading is a solitary activity, but it shouldn't be an isolating activity. And so the social aspect of this has made my reading actually more exciting. And sorry, I'm getting distracted by the bean behind you, but
Everybody does. No one's been paying attention to you for the last 2 minutes.
I'm not paying attention to me. The bean is
Nothing I can do about
stealing
it.
the
I don't put
show.
her up there. I've been accused of putting her up there to put her on camera. I can't put her anywhere. She goes where she wants. That's where she looks at the world. It's just
Increasing the
in the
viewer
last week
resistance.
she's taken to looking at the camera instead of looking at the world, and no one can compete with that. But you anticipated another question of mine, which was how and in what ways BookTube has actually changed your reading. Now, you are famous for having had and acted upon one horrible book recommendation, but there've been others. There've been other book recommendations, right? It hasn't all
Yeah,
been downhill.
no, no. I mean, first of all, in that video where I talked about my dislike of The Agony and the Ecstasy, there was another book that was recommended to me through BookTube that I read in conjunction with that I really enjoyed. I also read All the King's Men, which was something that I heard you talk very positively about before. One of my first videos that I made I think it was the first video that I made dedicated to just a discussion of a singular book was because of Randy Ray and the Lone Star Book Club, where I talked about The Getaway by Jim Thompson. I never would have read that if it weren't for BookTube at all. And I explained in that video that I'm not a big crime fiction reader either. So, especially when you're outside of a particular genre, you really need to have people. who are more well read in that genre to give you recommendations in order to know where to start. Part of the reason I love nonfiction so much is that like one book will naturally lead to another. You'll check the bibliography, there'll be 15 books there that all seem interesting that you want to read. But when it comes to like crime fiction or murder mysteries or romances or anything like that, recommendations are so important from people because you'll read one and then you'll be like, okay, where do I go from here? And so I've been a dedicated nonfiction reader, which led naturally to book after book after book. But when it comes to reading fiction and stuff like that, I would always turn to BookTube for recommendations on that front. So.
It must help a lot too that in addition to lots and lots of recommendations, you're getting them from a place of genuine enthusiasm.
Yes, yes,
It's not anyone
yes,
box ticking. You don't get any of the
yes.
sense that you might have, oh, I don't know, outside of our little corner booktube, that the person is only familiar with the book through short form or Blinkist. You don't get that sense at all. Instead, it's dorky enthusiasm, gushing dorky enthusiasm. That's got to help a lot.
Yeah, there's nobody pretending to like a book that they've never read on our corner of BookTube, I don't think. So that's something that you can easily get away with if you're making like a 30-second video where you can just say that like X book changed your life or whatever, and it's great, and you've never even read it. I mean, you
Yeah,
know,
I had an
whatever.
infamous example of that on my channel years and years ago. An infamous example, a young guy who got in touch with me. We were in video chats because he was calling me out for exactly that kind of fake behavior, saying the only reason you talked about this book is because it's popular on BookTube. And I said, go to Google and type my name and the title of that book. And he did. And he found a review from 1979 or something like that. And then I said, okay, and now that you've done that, there's a new reprint of the book. I want you to hold it up on camera to prove to me that you have it so that you're not faking. And he did. And I said, now turn it around. Do you see anybody's name on the back cover? And he did. And I never heard from him again. So no, we don't do that. We don't fake it in this little corner of BookTube at all. But I'm wondering, so okay, you've got all these recommendations and they've come from a place of enthusiasm,
Yeah, yeah.
but they've also a little bit knocked on the door maybe of your I want to use only complimentary language on the happy occasion of your you are completely stealing the show, little girl. Do you want to go somewhere? You're completely stealing the show. Oh no. They would kill us both if I didn't show this. Oh, oh, there you go. Oh, there you go, baby. All right. What was I asking before I got smooched? Oh, right. In addition to the enthusiasm, I want to pick a diplomatic word here. Most, it's been my experience dealing with readers that most of them are very cloistered. Uh, they pick a couple of lanes and they stick in those lanes. So they might talk for months or even years about becoming a Civil War guy, but they're never going to become a Civil War guy. They're just going to read the next book about Corregidor. And I'm wondering, I'm wondering, BookTube has, I think, a magnetic effect in the opposite direction of that. It's the enthusiasm helps. Like, for instance, you are right on the doorstep of the usual BookTube barrage of mega events. Do they tempt you in any way? I mean, there's June on the Range. How many Westerns have you read?
I love the westerns that I've read, but I'm thinking actively about the westerns that I'm going to add for June. Absolutely. So the enthusiasm of it and the fact that people are always talking about their awesome reading experiences with particular things that are outside of my wheelhouse. Oh gosh.
She's returned, of course. This is just a daily routine. She realizes I'm not over there and that she has to come back here in order to wedge
I've
it.
seen her do that in your videos so many times. It's
So
so
many times.
funny.
She will not learn. It's just so thrilling to her to be able to go over there. But then, oh no, wait a minute, he's not here.
Is she expecting you to follow you or you to follow her?
Yeah, and I'm not going to do that because like you know, Wolf, I almost never. But there's June on the Range. There's
Yeah,
Rocket Summer.
yeah.
There's Garb August. How much garbage have you intentionally read? Hmm?
I don't even know where to begin with that. So I would love to try that too. Yeah.
It's a whole, and then Mary in September. In
Mhm.
September, how much Conan have you read?
Nope,
None.
nothing,
See,
none.
I wonder, I mean, in your videos, you describe yourself as a new reader.
Yes.
And I always wonder, I've talked to a few other people who describe themselves that way on camera, and I wonder if that opens you up to on the good side, tons and tons of recommendations, and on the bad side, maybe some condescension. No names, of course, but maybe some condescension.
You mean for people like watching my videos?
Yeah, and saying "Hey kid" or something like that when,
Yeah, you know what's funny is I was going to make a video about this today, and I have encountered no negative comments yet, and very little in the way of like snark, which is something that I thought I was going to encounter a little bit because that's like the most cutting way of getting to somebody is when you just like do like a sarcastic remark about how, oh, he thinks that he thinks he's so good, or he thinks
Yeah.
this is interesting or something like that. That would cut me to the quick. That has not happened. um for the most part, everybody has been super inviting in my comments, which has been fantastic to read. And the only things that I've gotten that are not overwhelmingly positive are just weird. I've gotten a couple of weird comments, but other than that, we're good. So
I know what you mean about cutting comments. Years ago,
yeah,
someone left a comment on one of my videos saying, "I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't think this guy is a 90s kid." And that was pretty cutting all by itself. But then somebody else left a comment to that saying, "Well, at least not the 1990s." Oh, it took me a while to get
uh,
over that. That took me a while to recover from. But I think it's a little off topic, but I think we can both agree here. We might as well agree here that you're far more likely to get both snark and condescension on BookTube or off if you're a woman.
oh yeah,
They get it all a lot more
oh yeah,
than men do. It's kind of rotten to see.
yeah. No,
Although I'm not
100%.
sure that in our little corner of BookTube, I'm not sure that anyone quite equals the amount of condescension that for some unknown reason Michael K. Vaughan gets in his videos. I don't quite know. I don't understand the comments on his videos at all, where people will show up and start lecturing him about pulp fiction. Like there's anybody that knows more about it than he does. But so okay, so you tried it and you like it.
Yeah,
you you are have you already experienced there's a weird moment that people have and it comes at different points in this and I guess what Will nauseatingly refer to as this journey
yeah,
that there's a point where you suddenly say I am a YouTuber. I'm not going to stop doing this anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Have you reached that point yet? Usually it happens right around the 4-digit subscriber mark where you suddenly realize okay, well, absent catastrophe, this is now a part of my life.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I don't see myself. What I've been trying to do from the beginning and what I'm still doing is like taking it day by day. So I'm not focused on like some sort of grand vision of where I want to be in 5 years or something like that. But there is no, if I think about the future, I'm not ever considering like, oh, well, this is where I'm going to stop making videos, or at this point, it's probably going to burn out and I'm not going to do it. It's like today I'm going to make a video, tomorrow I'm going to make a video, the day after that I'm going to make a video, and I'm happy with that. That makes me happy to think about. So, it's just like it's one of those things where it's like I would miss it. I usually like to take the weekends off, just because I don't want to get to a point where I'm making 8 videos a day. I mean, that's a little weird, but
Yeah. What kind of a loser would you have to be?
it's a little strange.
If I took the
But
weekend off, someone would send a police car to my door. I tried this with a friend who was visiting, a non-YouTube friend. I tried the pity me routine and said, "Yeah, it's like a treadmill. I'm trapped." And he said, "Oh, you're trapped talking to people about books. Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare." I used to be paid to do that. So I guess. So you say, make a video today, I'll make a video tomorrow. But do you plan those videos? I mean, How much of your mental real estate is BookTube now occupying?
It's more than it should, maybe. For me, I try and do it so that like I know I want to make a video today, let's say, and but I also want to make it a video that I'm excited to do. So there will be times when I'm like, I've got a video in my head that would make sense. Like, but if I don't really feel like sitting down and doing a Friday reads on a Friday, I'll just do something else that appeals to me. So that just happened where on Friday I sat down to talk about what I read during the week, and I just was like, I just wasn't feeling it. So then I just talked about I did a book haul instead, and it was like um, that kind of thing is what I like in the sense that I have uh, multiple things that I can talk about, and then it's just a matter of choosing which one I want to go with on the actual day.
Now, your subscriber count is over 1,000. That's a
Yes.
small number. That is confidently more than the people you actually know. So which is what I always use. I always say it means something extra when you know that strangers are watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has that transmitted to telling people about it? Do people in your life know that you are now a YouTuber?
Yes, I have told them, and the reactions I've gotten from them are amazing. Everyone seems to be very enthusiastic because I was the guy who was like, reading and, ranting and railing about what I was reading, and they were always like, "You should do something with this. You should do," and I was like, I don't know, I don't know. And then like when I told them I was starting a YouTube channel and that I was talking about it, I didn't tell them right at the beginning. I told them like a week ago that I was doing this because I didn't want to tell everybody in my life that I was like making videos and then burn out and be like, I hate this. And, now everyone's like, I thought you were excited about making videos. I wanted to make sure I really liked it and I wanted to make sure that I could consistently do it. And so once that happened and I realized I am enjoying this and I realized I don't want to stop doing it, that's when I was like, okay, I'll let everybody know. And then everybody really has been just so nice and complimentary and in being excited for me that I have this outlet and that I have at least some people who are like showing up in the comments of every single one of my videos and saying, very appreciative things for what I'm putting out there. So it's been a wonderful experience.
I have people who show up regularly in my comments too. Yeah. Usually to say, why only 3 videos? Are you feeling sick? Is everything all right? Is the world coming to an end? Hey, I noticed you only made 4 videos today. Uh, I'm just wondering. That's all.
When are you going to do another recommendation video?
Yeah. Uh, but what about the age-old BookTube complaint that the more real estate it takes over in your mind, the more it interferes with reading, ironically enough?
Okay, yeah. Well, I understand that.
You
I'm
don't
I'm
feel
think
the need to read more, or
the only thing that I'll say about that is that I sometimes if I'm reading a book and I'll commit myself to the thought that for whatever reason I don't want to talk about this on my channel. I mean, obviously you read way more than you talk about on your channel. I don't have that same ratio, but there are books that I'm reading right now that I'm like, I don't really want to make a video about this. So then
what is the
then I
reason for that? What would determine that?
sometimes it's like too political. Sometimes um uh I don't feel comfortable because it's outside of it's like so far outside of what I know and what I'm comfortable talking about that I don't feel the need to get on camera and start saying it. Sometimes it's like a book that even if it's a novel, I won't have much enthusiasm for at all. And so I'll just be like, well, there would be no point in really talking about this that much because I'm just having such a, a, a an uninteresting experience with it that I just don't feel like making a video about it. So there'll be a variety of different reasons, and there will be times when I'm reading a book that I don't want to talk on my channel for some reason, and then that will actually induce me to not keep reading it because then I'm like, well, don't I want to read a book that I do want to talk about on my channel? So then
Well, that's a
I'll,
big
I'll
thing, isn't it? That was no part of your reading life beforehand. So there's a part of your brain wondering when you're reading a book if it's going to make good content.
wondering if I want to talk about it.
Goodness gracious. So we do have one of the Paul brothers here. Goodness gracious. I had no idea.
You know, you induced me to embarrass myself the last time I was on here by saying I didn't have a good reading experience with Lord of the Rings, and now you're doing this to me too. I think I can't keep
No
doing this.
need to thank me. At least this is friendlier than what's going to happen to you when you reach 2,000 subscribers. That's when you get the request email from Pat for a chunk of your ad revenue. We've all had that email. It'll sound really nice, but you'd better say yes. So,
Shoot.
you're ways off from it. You'll get that email eventually. We've all been there. But I certainly don't mean to embarrass a new booktuber. Not at all. Me, never. But so you occasionally make TBR videos. I guess I'm coming back to the question of how much not so much BookTube the platform, but the people that you know on BookTube, how much do they represent what's going to make its way onto what you read, onto how you spend your reading time? I mean, if someone recommends a book over and over again, the more you know them, especially if they're a fellow booktuber, like you have an interest in the Reformation.
Yes,
Well, I have recommended on my channel, for instance, many times, Bainton's biography of Martin Luther.
yes, yes.
Luther. You probably haven't read it, right? You probably haven't come across it. So
Baden's biography of Martin Luther.
yeah,
Yeah, I read it,
you
but
have read
based on your recommendation.
it.
Yeah,
Or for instance, you did a video about All the King's Men. I have recommended the perfect bookend of that is The Last Hurrah by Edwin O'Connor, another great American political novel.
yes,
When you're, I can't wait. If you hate that book, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't wait to see you read it because it is as good a political novel, but it's a completely different register.
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah,
It's a very Irish book,
yeah,
extremely so, extremely so. But uh, when it comes time for you to shape what you're going to be reading,
yeah.
how much of that is involved? I mean, you have, I assume, a limited amount of reading time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm thinking about the books that I read last month, and it was March of the Mammoths, so I included a mammoth on that month's reading that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise. There was Randy Ray, who we did Jim Thompson, so that was on there that I wouldn't have read otherwise. It was also March Mystery Madness, so I put a murder mystery on there that I wouldn't have put otherwise. Then I read Catherine Ann Porter, who I only found out about through BookTube. I'm trying to think. I mean, I would say about half of the books that ended up on March's TBR and the books that I read for during March were based on BookTube. The current TBR that I have for April is a little bit more me centric, a little less booktube centric. But that's also because March, famously, is a widowmaker of a month for booktube. We there's so many events going on, and I think that's great because I think that what you can do is you can on a month by month basis make the decision about like how much you want to participate in the goings on booktube. So, for example, June on the Range is such a cool and big event that it would be a shame to not throw at least one, but probably, for me, multiple books in honor of that. It just depends on the month and it depends on what is, going on that affects, your reading. But then, of course, there are also like your general suggestions, like, the Baden biography of Martin Luther or things where it's like, okay, I'm interested in the subject or I'm interested in this type of reading just perennially. So I'm going to include some recommendations that I've gotten from BookTube there as well. So
Yeah, summer is is not a, it's not, there's no one month it's a Widowmaker. There are all sorts of events, but in every month there's a huge event, one huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about horror fiction for May? Horror
Oh,
May.
yes. Yes. Yeah. I was
You
going to
read
do some
horror?
M.R. James.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy made his a recommendation suggestion list from his hospital bed.
From his hospital bed. Yes, he did.
And he mentioned the Island of Dr. Moreau, and suddenly I thought, it's wider open than I thought. Typical horror doesn't usually appeal to me, but if the Island of Dr. Moreau counts, then a whole bunch of things count. I always have to resist the urge in any event to simply go to the Victorians. Just go to the Victorians. They did everything right. They did everything better. Just go there instead. There are all sorts of horror novels writing today, even.
Well, I know you're a big fan of the Leaves of Grass. Or no, not the, sorry. The what was that one?
House
The
of
House
Leaves.
of Leaves. Yeah.
Yes, the most horrifying thing of which is that it got published. So, what do you see as the future for BookTube and you? Hmm?
Well, I think I'm gonna systematically find every booktuber's favorite novel and rip it to shreds. I think that's worked for me before. I think I'll just
One booktuber already did that.
oh really?
His name was Irving Stone. And you'll notice how active he is now. It's actually been a dream of mine not to find everybody's dream book and rip it to shreds, but for every booktuber to do a series of videos about that book, their number one favorite book, not necessarily the best book they've ever read, but the
Yeah.
one that won't let them go, the one that
Yeah.
defines them as a reader. Just as a body of material for future reference for anybody, what an amazing thing that would be.
Yeah. Oh, for
One
sure.
person, what would that book be for you? We know what book it wouldn't be. Do you have any idea? Could you narrow it down to one book that it would be? New reader that you
Well,
are?
well, there's nothing touches the Iliad. I mean, you know, I read that during lockdown, and it was, and then I had my reservations about it because I was like, oh gosh, I'm worried that I'm going to find this boring or something like that. And I was really new, even newer than I am now, and I was so happy that not only did I love it, but I didn't have anything that was even approaching it in terms of a reading experience. And I was so happy that genuinely happened, that it got me so excited,
Oh yeah,
to read the Odyssey. I mean, to keep going. It was amazing. So
it's the thing that people tend to forget because they associate classics with school.
yeah, yeah,
These kids have been punching at their own weight and staying alive long before there was school. If they couldn't do that, they'd be gone. It's
yeah.
but who remind me again, whose translation did you read?
The Fitzgerald.
Okay.
I
Uh
love that one.
yeah. And are you tempted to read another one?
I've read the Fagles
Oh, you
too.
did. Okay.
I liked it, but I like to compare translations based on, like, my favorite moments. And for me, that's the end of book 12 when Hector lifts that big rock and throws it through the Achaean rampart. And I have never read anybody who did that better, in my opinion, than Fitzgerald. But that's probably just because, like, it was the first thing that I read, but also like there's a sort of tempo to it that is it's just so captivating to me. So
But we should wrap things up before we get cut off.
yeah,
Yes?
yeah.
So everybody go over to Christopher's channel and subscribe and leave a condescending comment. It's, it's always a wonderful thing when you hit that 4-digit mark. I don't know why, but there's some
Yeah.
magic. How wonderful.